For the next few minutes, we're going to be looking at how the large auction houses grade the furs of semi-aquatic animals. Let's turn first of all to the classification of beaver pelts. Originally, a large number of different geographic regions were used in classifying beaver pelts by origin. Now in Canada, where more than half of all North American pelts are taken, beaver fur is classified according to only two geographic regions, Eastern and Western. The Manitoba-Ontario boundary marks the demarcation between these two zones. Eastern pelts are usually darker in color. Western pelts come in paler shades and are usually coarser. This size classification is determined by adding the length and width of each pelt. Beaver pelts fall into 8 different size categories, from the largest of 70 inches or 178 centimeters or more to the smallest of 42 inches or 107 centimeters or less. As mentioned, these figures are the sum of the length and width. Once this first classification is complete, the real grading process begins in accordance with 3 standard criteria: the condition of the leather, the quality of the fur, and the color. First, the leather is carefully examined in order to detect any imperfections, cuts, or other damage. If the leather is damaged, the pelt enters one of the damaged classifications. If the leather does not show any defects, the pelt is then graded according to the standard quality classifications. The primeness of the pelt is indicated by the color of the leather. Depending on the geographic area, beaver pelts reach full primeness and therefore peak value between mid-December and the end of February. As an example, this is the primeness curve of a beaver for southern Quebec. At this time, the leather is creamy white in color. The grader then proceeds to examine the fur. He evaluates the gloss and the distribution of the guard hair. By brushing between the shoulders against the flow of the fur, he judges the thickness and the density of the underfur. When all this is complete, the grader is ready to place the pelt into one of the quality classifications. Beaver pelts are graded in 3 superior quality classifications: 1 Part 2, 1 and 2 heavy, and 1 and 2 semi-heavy. These pelts from shearing type beaver will all be sheared. They are beaver which are harvested at or on the verge of full prime. They are completely covered with thick, glossy guard hair, and the underfur is also thick and dense. The leather of grade 1 Part 2 pelts is whitish, while the leather of the other 2 grades is shaded slightly blue-gray. The guard hair of these pelts, 1 Part 2, is plucked, and the underfur is sheared at an even length. These pelts have the highest value. Pelts taken too early in the season, that is before they reach prime, are graded in categories 1 and 2 flat, good 2, 3, and 4 early. This 1 and 2 flat pelt, the best of these 4 grades, was harvested just before reaching prime. The guard hair is uniform and covers it completely. If you run your hand against the flow of the fur, you don't feel much resistance. This indicates that the underfur in this pelt is less dense. These pelts are utilized in their natural state, without shearing. This 4 early pelt is the lowest quality of the 4 categories and was harvested very early in the season. The underfur is at its minimum thickness and the guard hair is thin and broken. These pelts have a lower value. Late pelts, in other words, those that are harvested after their prime, are graded red rump, 3 late and 4 late. The best of these grades, red rumps, are 1 and 2 in quality. They were harvested a little too late after reaching full prime. The rump guard hair is badly blemished. This dark reddish hair is very coarse. Grade 4 late pelts, like this one, exhibit large bare spots where the guard hair has been rubbed off. Known as badly rubbed, these pelts have little commercial value. While grading pelts by quality, the grader also sorts them by color. This is determined by the shade of the flanks. Beaver pelts are graded in 5 colors, from extra dark to extra pale. Extra dark pelts are most prized. They're found on beaver harvested in the eastern region. The flanks are very black and the back is uniformly dark. The only reddish tones are on the head and near the rump. Among western beaver pelts, extra pale is most highly valued. It is pale brown or yellow brown all along the back. The flanks are silver. Now let's apply the same criteria to the grading of otter pelts. Otter are found in 7 major regions of North America. A roughly equal number of otter are harvested in Canada and the United States. This illustration shows otter pelts from 6 of these different regions. Note the difference in the colors of the leathers and furs. The pelts are first graded by size. The length of the pelts is measured from the tip of the snout to the base of the tail. The width is measured across the rump. 5 length grades are used, from extra large pelts of 38 inches or 96 centimeters or more to the smallest pelts of less than 32 inches or 80 centimeters. Once this has been done, the grader evaluates the leather and the quality of the fur. He begins by examining the leather, as for all the species in which the fur faces in. If the leather shows any sign of damage, the pelt will be placed in one of the damaged categories. The color of the leather indicates the primeness of the pelt. Otter pelts are fully primed from early November until the end of December. As an example, this is the primeness curve for southern Quebec. The grader then examines the quality of the fur through an inspection window at the bottom of the belly. Working in the appropriate light, he determines the quality and color grades. Pelts are examined with the leather side facing out in order to reduce the risk of the guard hair singeing. The most valuable otter pelts are graded in categories 1 part 2 and 1 and 2 straight-haired. The highest quality pelt, grade 1 part 2, is harvested when fully prime. The leather is clean, creamy white, and without discoloration. The guard hair and the underfur are at their maximum lengths. The fur isn't singed. One and 2 straight-haired pelts are harvested just before they reach full prime. The leather on the neck is blue, signifying that the fur on the other side will be flat. The underfur and guard hair are as dense, but are not quite as long as in furs graded 1 Part 2. Pelts graded 1 and 2 singed and 1 and 2 badly singed exhibit the same defect. They're singed or curled. These pelts are the same quality as those in the 2 previous grades, except that the guard hairs are slightly curled at the tips, producing a 1 and 2 singed pelt, or if curled over their entire length, producing a 1 and 2 badly singed pelt. 2 and 3 early pelts are usually taken before they reach prime. This too early pelt has not fully developed. The leather is light blue. The underfur is short. Although the guard hair is not fully developed, it's almost always straight, which gives it a good value. This 3 early pelt was harvested very early in the season. The leather is black. The fur is short and sparse. The guard hair does not cover the underfur, resulting in what is known as a flat pelt. Pelts harvested after they reached prime, that is late in the season, are graded 2 late or 3 late. The fur has begun to change color and to singe. 3 late pelts have very little commercial value. In addition to sorting pelts by quality, the grader also evaluates them by color and clarity. Otter pelts are classified in from 3 to 5 different color shades, depending on the number of available pelts. These shades are extra dark, dark, dark brown, brown, and pale. There are 3 grades of clarity: clear, slightly off, and off. This classification is based on the reddish-brown shades which the underfur takes on after its fully prime period. This shade becomes more marked as the season advances, steadily lessening the value of the pelt. Now we'll look at the most important ways in which wild mink is classified. The mink is one of those species whose pelts are classified according to sex because of major differences in the size and quality of the fur between males and females. Mink pelts are classified according to their origin. North America is now divided into 16 regions. The best pelts, because of their size and quality, come from the Mackenzie River Delta. This region is closely followed by other mink from the Northwest Territories, northern Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and Quebec. The length of a mink pelt is measured from the base of the tail to the tip of the snout. Its width is taken across the rump. There are 4 size classifications from extra large to small. The size of the wild mink pelts varies according to the region. Mink pelts are the most difficult to grade because their characteristics differ greatly according to the food resources and climate of the various regions. However, qualities of a good mink pelt are underfur that is thick and clear, has a good texture, and blends well with the guard hair, and guard hair that is uniform and covers the entire pelt. The margin of error during the grading of these furs should be not greater than 5%. In addition, an experienced grader must be able to create lots from pelts which are of different grades, but that possess characteristics that will be in demand during the auction. These lots must also be formed so that the pelts will get their maximum value during the sale. Mink fur reaches full prime in November and December. Here's the primeness curve for southern Quebec. Top quality mink is graded in categories 1 Part 2 and 1 and 2. This top quality pelt was harvested when fully prime. The underfur and guard hair are dense and fully developed without singeing. The underfur and the guard hair blend well. The leather is creamy white to golden. Pelts graded 1 Part 2 are the most valuable ones. The next 5 grades are for furs harvested before they reached prime or after their prime. This pelt is grade Good 2, the best of these categories. It was harvested shortly before reaching full prime. The fur is flat because the underfur is short and the guard hair hasn't yet reached its full length. The leather is somewhat bluish, but it's a good quality fur. These pelts, graded 4 and 5, are of the lowest quality. Pelts at this level were taken so early that the fur has hardly developed at all. These lots also include pelts harvested too late in the season. These pelts are characterized by their singed guard hair and the cardboard-like leather, and the fur is off color. They have hardly any commercial value. Mink are graded into 5 color classifications, from extra dark to pale. Pelts graded extra dark usually have the greatest value. The underfur has a charcoal tone and the guard hair is very dark brown or black. Finally, mink pelts are graded by clarity. Mink are divided into 4 grades: clear, slightly off, off, and badly off. We'll finish our examination of the grading of semi-aquatic animals with the muskrat. Muskrat pelts can be classified by 5 large regions of origin. For example, pelts from western areas are generally pale brown and the fur is often coarse. Pelts from the central region are silky and dark brown. These are highly prized by purchasers. Eastern pelts are brown to dark brown and are often intermixed with pelts from the central region. The length of a muskrat pelt is taken from the tip of the snout to the base of the tail. The width is measured across the rump. Because of the great number of muskrat pelts, they're usually sized by eye. But the grader still uses a gauge, usually the size of pelts graded medium to large, or 13 to 14 inches, which is 33 to 35 centimeters. Pelts are divided into 7 size classifications, from extra large pelts measuring 15.5 inches or 40 centimeters and more, to the smallest pelts, less than 10 inches or 25 centimeters in length. Muskrat pelts are inspected with the leather facing out. They're graded for any visible marks on the leather and for the quality of the fur. First, the grader runs his eye over the leather of the belly. If he finds any damage, the pelt is classed in one of the 3 grades for damaged pelts. Then he evaluates the leather of the back. Markings on the leather of the back indicate at what time of the season the animal was harvested and therefore indicate the degree of primeness of the pelt. Muskrat fur is at its best when harvested between mid-February and early April. Here's an example of a primeless curve for southern Quebec. Then, with his thumb behind the neck and 4 fingers on the belly, the grader squeezes the pelt to determine the thickness of the leather and fur. Finally, the grader lifts up the pelt at the base of the tail to evaluate the quality and texture of the fur. Muskrat pelts of the highest quality are graded Good Winter. This pelt belongs in this top category. The marks on the leather look like spots. When the pelt is squeezed under the ears, it feels spongy. The underfur and the guard hair are fully developed. Pelts harvested before reaching prime are graded Fall, Good Fall, and Ordinary Winter. This Ordinary Winter pelt offers the best quality in early furs. The leather is blue on the flanks and possibly elsewhere. Pelts in this category do not feel as spongy as Good Winter pelts. Pelts like this one are rated Fall and are the least attractive of the early furs. They're harvested early in the fall. The leather appears spotted. The leather of young animals is generally dark blue, almost black, except for the dorsolateral line, which is paler. If the pelt is squeezed beneath the ears, the dryness of the leather and the lack of fur can be felt. Pelts harvested in the spring are graded as follows: heavy, semi-heavy, light, papery, and shedders. These terms refer to the thickness of the leather. Shedders are harvested extremely late in the season. Pelts rated heavy and semi-heavy provide the highest quality in late furs. They're harvested late in the winter or early in the spring. The leather becomes creamy white. It's thick, but remains fairly pliable. The underfur is very dense. This papery pelt was harvested late in the spring. The leather is so thin that it tends to shrink when being dressed. The northern region produces many of these pelts. Moreover, some regions produce pelts that are classed papery even when the fur is fully developed. This shedder was harvested too late in the season and has begun to lose its fur, especially around the lower back. In the same area, but on the leather side, appear little oyster marks that are pale areas with patches of dark pigment. Now let's look at pelts graded kits and mice. These pelts come from young muskrats born late in the season. The leather varies from dark in the early autumn to a light color in the late autumn and early winter. The guard hair is somewhat underdeveloped and the underfur appears woolly. Muskrat pelts are not graded by color, but rather by region. For purely descriptive purposes, this illustration shows the 5 color categories into which the back of muskrat pelts can be divided. This second illustration shows the variations in the color of the belly. Purchasers find that their task is greatly facilitated by the professionalism of all those who make a clear grading system possible. Now we understand better why this is so. Trappers too benefit from the classification system because it guarantees that their pelts will be sold at their true value.